All right. Well, if you are no stranger here to the Kanika Sports Show, then you know we tend to avoid most college sports in general just because there's not a lot of time to follow NFL, NBA, MLB, WNBA, whatever else, cricket these days. I mean, have you seen that video we posted? If not, here's your warning to go and check it out. The NFL is competing with cricket globally, and I had no idea. I thought that was kind of interesting. But despite the fact that we do not partake in college sports, it does not mean that we do not see college sports topics come up from time to time. And this one was something that I just could not avoid, Nika. I saw this and I saw it happen online, and it made my blood boil. I'm not going to lie. If you are also not a stranger here, then you should know that we are very critical of umpires and the role of modern umpiring, and how, in my view and in Nika's view, they've just gotten softer and softer over the years, and they make the moment and the ejection more about them and less about the game at hand. And they don't have a lot of fans on their side right now. You know, I think it's happening at a very peculiar moment in human history where we have technology, for example, and, you know, we have Major League Baseball on one hand saying, well, we're going to probably implement some kind of a ABS, automated balls and strikes challenge system next year. And you have the NCAA, as you're going to see in this situation, basically saying like, nope, you can never argue balls and strikes. So the umpires did nothing wrong.
That's crack of shit.
It kind of is, right? It's like they want it both ways. And I know the College World Series is not Major League Baseball. I know they're two separate entities, but at the same time, these guys are all going to get drafted into Major League Baseball. A lot of them will.
Right, but it's
not
the
all
same
of them,
sport.
but a lot of them will get drafted this year into Major League Baseball.
It's the same game.
It's the same game. It's the same sport. Yeah, you can see the headline here. College World Series, Coastal Carolina coach Kevin Schnall gets quick ejection in first inning. First inning with NCAA title at stake. I shouldn't be shooed by another grown man, he says. Yeah, this is nuts. Umpires, once again, making a moment about them and not choosing to be the bigger person, you know? And that's where I guess I feel like, you know, we should start with in this sense, in this particular issue, is that, as we're going to read, Kevin Schnall did nothing wrong really here other than be a coach. This was written by Jason Owens for Yahoo Sports. There are quick hooks, and there's what happened Sunday in the College World Series. With 2 outs in the bottom of the first inning of Game 2, Coastal Carolina head coach Kevin Schnall stepped out of the dugout to exchange words with home plate umpire Angel Campos.
Another Angel.
Yeah. Way to live up to the name. Hernandez and now Campos. 2 angels of the same cloth. Am I wrong?
No.
Campos twice signaled Schnall to return to the dugout, then ejected him from the game against LSU, leaving Coastal Carolina without its coach for the rest of an elimination game with the NCAA championship at stake. Now, I know the baseball championship for college does not get as much publicity as, of course, the football national championship and the basketball national championship do. And part of that, I think, has to do with where they happen in the season. There's no school going on right now.
Okay.
So there's not like kids at school like talking about this. And I think that plays into it a little bit. That's all. Anyways, it says moments later, umpires ejected Coastal Carolina's first base coach, Matt Schilling, as Schilling protested Schnall's ejection. So you have the first base coach coming over here to protest with the umpires that, like, hey, you just kicked out our head coach in the middle of the NCAA championship. Are you clueless? And then he gets ejected promptly as well. So it says LSU went on to win a 5-3 win to secure a 2-game sweep and the NCAA championship. Yeah, the NCAA World Series is best of 3. So first team to win 2. What got Schnall tossed, it says. It wasn't clear from the broadcast exactly what Schnall said that sparked Campos' decision to toss him from the game, but he appeared to be arguing Campos' balls and strikes calls. Regardless, Campos didn't take much time to make his decision. So again, we have an umpire with a short fuse in the middle of probably the most important game of the season for Coastal Carolina. They're already down 1-0 in this best of 3, and And you decide that's a time to be righteous and have a short fuse. Way to read the room or the crowd.
Wow.
The incident happened as Coastal Carolina had a man on second base with the game in a scoreless tie. Coastal Carolina's Sebastian Alexander had just stolen second on a first pitch called strike by LSU pitcher Anthony Ianson. Campos called for time after announcing the 0-1 count and stepped away from his position behind the plate. He looked over to the Coastal Carolina dugout and exchanged words with Schnall, who at that point had stepped out of the dugout. Campos motioned for Schnall to return to the dugout. Schnall did not, and Campos ejected him from the game. Schnall rushed to the field to protest the decision, leading to a minutes-long back and forth that ultimately led to Schilling's ejection as well. That's the first base coach. Another umpire fell to the ground during the commotion.
What?
Yeah, this was really hilarious because this probably got the most social media attention,
No
in fact.
kidding.
The guy who, you can see him in the still shot there, the number 31 umpire, is the one who was running in at this point. He was trying to stop Schnall from proceeding forward in Angel Campos's direction, and as he was trying to stop him, he got tripped up over his own feet, and
Did he tie his shoes?
there was like some questioning of whether or not, Schnall pushed this umpire to the ground, and he absolutely did not. The umpire tripped over his own feet and was also interjecting himself into the situation, in my opinion, and putting himself in line of risk of getting pushed over like this. Anyways, Schnall said here, "I shouldn't be shooed by another grown man." Schnall shared candid thoughts about his ejection in his post-game news conference, and you can see his picture there. He does not look like a happy man. I would not want to meet this man in the parking lot if I was Angel Campos, the umpire, Nika.
No kidding.
This is what he said after the game. "There's 25,000 people there, and I vaguely hear a warning issued," Schnall said. "As the head coach, I was an assistant for 24 years. As an assistant, you're almost treated like a second-grade, second-level citizen, and you can't say a word. As a head coach, I think it is your right to get an explanation of why we got warned. I'm 48 years old, and I shouldn't be shooed by another grown man. When I come out to ask what the warning is, a grown man shooed me." Well,
He took it personally.
Shoot is going to be the word of the year in the dictionary, isn't it, Nika?
Most likely.
This is a lot of use of the word shoe by Coastal Carolina coach Kevin Schnall here. And I can't help but notice that shoe kind of rhymes with or starts the same way as Schnall. So must be part of his vernacular growing up. Schnall went on to describe his perspective of the moment he got ejected. Quote, "So at that point, I can now hear him say it was a warning issued for arguing balls and strikes," Schnall continued. Quote, "At that point, I said, because you missed 3. At that point, ejected." If that's hard to follow, I'm sorry. It's just basically he was warned. He was clarifying that he got warned for arguing balls and strikes. And when the umpire confirmed that, he proceeded to tell him that's because you missed 3 calls already in the first inning, and the umpire didn't like that, so he says you're gone. Now, in my opinion, that's a pretty soft-ass ejection by the umpire there. That's pretty thin skin, and you just got to be thicker than that if you're umpiring the World Series game for college. I'm sorry. And whoever's making these decisions, like maybe they need to give these umpires psychiatric tests before the World Series starts to make sure that they can mentally handle it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It doesn't seem like this guy has the mental capacity to be umpiring a game of this magnitude. Nobody's just really talking about how ludicrous this is getting. And like, what's the punishment here? There's no punishment for this guy. Everyone's just venting that it's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. But what is the ramifications? Where's the punishment? Where is the, we're not blind. We're not blind. We've all seen this happening in the major league level as well, where they just have short fuses and they kick stars out of games for arguing balls and strikes, the most competitive men in the world who are getting paid a lot more than you are on a nightly basis. And you choose to be, I guess, upset about that in life and take it out on them. And that's the one area where you can exercise power over these millionaires.
It's all about the power
Again,
and control.
Psychological tests, maybe. I think half the umpires or more in Major League Baseball will be gone. I don't think they have the mental fortitude to do these games. They don't have the guts. They don't have this thick skin.
And they make it all about themselves.
They do. And if you're listening to this and you're hearing this and you're rolling your eyes, tough shit, deal with it. This is me looking at you, telling you to do better and stop making it about you. No one is paying money to see you. We don't want to see your face. We don't care. All we want to watch is the teams play a clean game of baseball. That's it.
You are
Remember
there
that.
for just that reason. So make sure it's clean baseball.
You're supposed to be an arbitrator.
Right.
A clean arbitrator. You're not supposed to be interjecting yourself like this.
And there's more and more of that happening.
Buy some headphones or buy some earplugs. I don't know if you're that sensitive to it. Like, literally, Aaron Boone got ejected for a game for something that a fan said during the game because the umpire thought he did.
I know, it's awful.
And he wouldn't admit he was wrong.
That's the problem. Nobody takes responsibility as an ump.
I want more journalists interviewing these umpires after games. They are made available to the press. They are asked questions sometimes, but it just seems like more of these events get glossed over, and they're just left to the dustbins of history, and we don't learn anything from it. We don't make changes as it's happening in the moment. We just vent about it as it's happening and saying, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. But no one's doing anything about it to change it.
And at the end of the day, they only get a scorecard, how good or bad they have done.
Well, and I just got to bring it back, and I know we're going off on a tangent here, but if you're upset about the ABS system as an umpire, you brought it on yourself by making it about you too much. And we as fans can see how bad the calls are getting. We can see how Angel Hernandez looks behind the plate in a game last year at Houston. And we can be like, this is ridiculous. We don't want this anymore. And you're resistant to that? Blame yourself. Blame yourselves. Stop being such sensitive little men. Stop it. Wah, 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 wah. You sound like, I mean, do you want me to get a handkerchief out for you or something? Like,
maybe.
You want something to cry? Gosh. It's not about you. Just shut up and do your job. Take it. Shut up and take it. It's not some verbal abusive situation, okay? They're competitive. They're in the heat of the moment of a game. Relax. And stop taking it so damn personally. That should be the first thing they teach umpires in umpire school. Stop taking what any coach or player says to you personally. It's not personal. They're caught up in the heat of the moment. If you can take a deep breath and count to 10, just move on with your day. They will get over it. Trust me.
They have to.
I know. They will get over it.
They're not kids. They're grown-ass men.
You know when they don't get over it is when you eject them. Prematurely, especially. I'm not saying there's guys that don't deserve it occasionally. I'm not. But these are not guys that are in your face, jaw-jacking, like, you're the worst effing ump I've ever seen. You can go back to hell and back. I don't know. They're not looking like this. They're not making visual scenes like this.
They take it all personally, and they eject themselves into the game every single time that there's an ejection.
Well, this is what Schnall had to say about his ejection. He said, quote, if that warrants an ejection, I'm the first one to stand here like a man and apologize. But if that warranted an ejection, man, there'd be a lot of ejections. As an umpire, I feel like it's your job to manage the game, the national championship game, with some poise, some calmness, and a little bit of tolerance. And I 100% agree completely. And if there's not some kind of test that can tell whether or not an umpire is mentally capable of handling this or not before a game of this magnitude, then maybe it's time we developed one. Because this guy, Angel Campos, had no business umpiring this game, period. And no one can change my mind about that.
And nobody's going to punish him for anything.
No one going to punish him.
He's like a slap on the wrist. That's it. Not even that, probably. Just move on to the next game.
All right. Schnall on umpire who fell. That's what this subheadline reads. Quote, he was embarrassed. Schnall also addressed another umpire who fell to the ground while Schnall was pleading his case on the field. We mentioned this, but let's hear what he has to say about it. Quote, if you guys watched the video, there was a guy that came extremely aggressively, tripped over Campos's foot, embarrassed in front of 25,000, immediately goes, quote, 2-game suspension, and says bumping the umpire. Immediately does that. There was no bump. He was embarrassed. I shouldn't be held accountable for a grown man's athleticism. That's a great quote there, and he's absolutely 100% correct. In fact, you can see here in the photograph, and another reason why I put this photograph up here the whole time is the umpire's actually putting hands on him first. You know, he's coming at him and saying like, whoa, 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 buddy. And as he's doing that, he trips over his own feet. Schnall never takes his eyes off of Angel Campos. He's not caring about this guy at all, you know, and it's not his responsibility. You know, he didn't like grab him and shove him off of him or anything like that. So again, we have another umpire who's choosing, again, in a heated moment. He already knows this guy's upset. He got tossed out of the College World Series championship game, and he decides to say, you know what? I'm going to double down. I'm going to double down in this moment on this manager. Coastal Carolina, a college that most people haven't heard of, who's playing against LSU, like Paul Skeens' university that he came out of. So who do you think is giving more press in this situation? It's just, the whole thing reeks.
It does.
The whole thing reeks. Here was NCAA's explanation, Nika. The NCAA released a statement in-game about the rule that got Schnall ejected. Quote, NCAA playing rule 3-6-F-Note 1 states that balls, strikes, half swings, or decisions about hit-by-pitch situations are not to be argued, end quote. The statement reads, after a warning, any player or coach who continues to argue balls, strikes, half swings, or hit-by-pitch situation shall be ejected from the game. So I guess this was their way of standing up for the umpire in this situation, which is the wrong move.
They're hiding behind these written rules.
Whoever put this statement out for the NCAA, you failed. You did a job horribly. Way to read the room, you idiot. You are an idiot. Go back to whatever you were doing before this, because you have no business making these kinds of statements about this game and about this situation. This is awful. This is going to lead to the elimination of all human umpires, period. And you are contributing to that. You, all these umpires, the NCAA, anyone that stood up for the umpires in this situation, you're all contributing to their own downfall right now.
They don't see it like that.
I don't know what to tell them. The people are going to win. The people are going to win this war. Me and the people who are against you right now, because you keep making it about yourselves. You are the most selfish people in sports. Stop it.
Who's governing this? Is it Medford still over
When did it get so bad? Why are the umpires terrible in baseball? Why are the WNBA officials so terrible? Why are the NFL refs constantly screwing up?
I don't know, but it's a very good question.
I think a lot of it is psychological, and I don't think they can handle the pressure of it. I think they need to have more stricter tests to get involved.
Okay.
And they need to be psychologically developed. It doesn't matter about anything else. If you can't handle the moment.
A lot of the umps that get into the umpiring and doing the games, they are the people that never made it to be a player.
Yeah, I think there's something to that.
There's some saltiness about it.
It does seem like that. That's probably true. Whether you didn't make it through high school, or whether you didn't make it through college, or didn't make it to the pros, at some point you want to say, well, I want to stay involved in baseball, so I'm going to go be an umpire.
Right.
And then you're umpiring with that resentment to the fact that you didn't make it and they did, and this is your way of holding power over those people still.
Because that's the only power you have.
It's a really astute observation by you, Nika. Yeah. I think you're onto something with that, to be honest. I think that because of what you just said, there needs to be a psychological evaluation before you're allowed to enter umpire school. Why are you doing this? You know, if you're doing it because you see awful umpiring everywhere, you know, are they even going to let you in anymore if you say something like that? Like, I want there to be better umpiring in the game.
I think this is going to get replaced by the technology before any test gets implemented.
Yeah, it's a dead job because, you know, the fans aren't going to stand for it. We already heard Manfred is implementing ABS specifically because he's sick and tired of getting emails from fans and players and coaches. So he doesn't just hear it from players. He hears it from everybody.
So does he hear from college basketball?
He will not.
Because he's just
it's not his jurisdiction, if you will.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I thought he just resides over all baseball stuff, like the rules.
Well, we got one more slide to get through on this article, and then we can put a bow on it. But per NCAA rules, Schnall receives a 2-game suspension for continuing to argue after his ejection, and Schilling gets a 3-game suspension. Wow. Barring a retraction, the suspensions will extend fully to next season since the series will not go to Game 3. Both coaches would have missed Game 3 had Coastal Carolina won on Sunday. Wow. What a joke. I don't even understand how the NCAA would even consider standing by this, but it seems like they would have, you know? And that's really sad to hear. Instead of fixing the problem with the situation and the soft-ass umpire who had no business being out there managing the game, because that's what their job is, to manage the game. You shouldn't be a manager, dude.
No. The fall of our institutions.
Fall of the institutions continues, and we'll leave you all to wonder why that's happened. Coastal Carolina went into Sunday's Game 2 in an 0-1 hole in the best of 3 series after LSU's game 1-0 win in Game 1 on Saturday. That's a tight game.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Tigers have their 8th NCAA title and their 2nd in 3 years. So this story definitely, like I said, we don't follow the college game a lot, but it got under my skin watching this happen. And if you haven't seen the video of it, please go and watch it. It is worth watching just from the standpoint of you can literally see how soft Angel Campos was in this situation as the lead umpire in this game, the behind the plate umpire. He had no business being in this game, period, Nika. None. And that was the general consensus all across social media. Everyone from Jeff Passan to anyone that follows the game was like, what is going on here? And yet we're not going to see any changes as a result of it. And that's the problem with our media landscape nowadays. It's like sometimes they get it right. Like on this story, they were all right, but they let it go already. They forgot already. Because they're not going to hold NCAA accountable beyond this Yahoo Sports article. This article's already 3 days old.
I know.
It was put out on Monday morning.
It will be moved on to another story that's going to be our...
And we'll have another umpire making a game about themselves, and we'll all get uproar, and we'll all get bent out of shape.
We all going to argue on social media.
Nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to happen.
But that's how things work. You just go and argue with people. No rules have ever changed because of it.
And they do this because they feel like conflict sells better.
Of course.
This is but it's going to get to a bad point. You are going to have a player confront an umpire after a game and be like, what the fuck are you doing to my career? And why are you costing me millions of dollars because you're jealous you didn't get to make it?
Yeah.
It's going to happen. A manager's going to meet an umpire after the game and being like, you're costing my team games by doing what you're doing. You're costing me jobs. You're costing me money. At the end of the day, it's about money.
Of course.
And these bad calls add up and they cost people money. They cost people careers. They cost people.
That, and on top of it, people gamble. That's another aspect of it that we don't talk about it, but people do gamble stupid shit like this.
Well, they do, and I think that's the pressure that Rob Manfred's really feeling is that people
where the money
are
comes.
Putting a lot of money into these betting applications, and it's easier than ever to bet on sports because it's all happening on your phone in the palm of your hand. And here we have a situation where a lot more people are putting a lot more money on games and on sports, and then we see the calls get worse and worse and worse over the years, and it's not just a hairline call anymore.
No,
it's a ball 2 or 3 feet outside, like with Angel Hernandez, and you're like, wait, this ain't right.
Yes, and then he gets nothing for it. He gets slapped on the wrist.
Well, he kind of quietly went away, but he never got publicly chastised for those calls that he made against the Astros last year. Just like this umpire is never going to get chastised again for this incident unless you happen to see this video, because I'm probably the last person talking about it still. And I'm saying that as a joke, but it's Wednesday. This happened on Sunday. We're just covering it now because we've been backed up and we're a small operation and we're independent, but it was worth talking about. And if I'm the last person to talk about it, then by damn it, I'm going to be the loudest.
Okay, but this also spills to the majors. This isn't just a college problem.
It is. It does spill over, and there is crossover there. And that's why I think it rubbed me the wrong way. We've seen so many bad calls over the past 3 years since we've been doing this whole podcast and now a live show broadcast. It's enough. Enough is enough. And this was just another moment, and enough is enough.
Yeah.
So again, I'm asking, when is enough enough? When is the NCAA going to stop putting out bogus statements like this and hiding behind them and do the right thing? They're probably not. They're going to become their own irrelevancy. People are going to stop going to college because they're not getting paid any money for it. And that's that. So, all right. Well, I think I have said my piece on this. And if you don't know my feelings about Angel Campos after listening to this video, then you should have listened a lot better. He needs to go. I'm sorry to say it. There's no place for this kind of umpiring in any level of baseball. We need stricter psychological testing for umpires, police officers, anyone that's doing arbitrary decision-making in society.
That involves another person's livelihood.
Life or livelihood, So, all right. Well, we'll see if NCAA does the right thing. I am not holding my breath, Nika.
Me neither.
All right. Well, let us know what you feel in the thoughts below. Is there something we're missing about umpiring that, makes our take on this totally wrong? Or are you in agreement with Nika and I that this just needs to go? Otherwise, they're going to run themselves out of the game, period. And we're going to have automated everything. AI will call all sports games.
Oh, can we get rid of the announcers too while we at it?
Well, we'll probably have AI announcers soon. We'll be able to have, if it's an NBA game, maybe we'll get Marv Alberts and Mike Fratello on the mics, just like it was in the 90s during the Bulls finals. And, maybe we can get Joe Buck and John Smoltz on the mics for baseball games, even though they don't exist anymore as a couple.
That's okay, but we can have their avatars talking.
Just give me the Manning brothers. I mean, that's the real entertainment. Am I wrong?
No.
I would love to hear the Manning brothers talk about this situation live as it was happening. Even though it's baseball, I would just love to hear them talk about it and be like, man, this is wrong. This is wrong. What do you think, Eli? Yeah, it's pretty wrong. It's pretty wrong. All right, that's my Manning brothers impersonations. I leave you. I bid you adieu.
All right, bye.
Bye.